So this is the first lab of SC300 that we'll be doing today, and this lab is mainly about Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator and how we implement identity and access management with Microsoft Entra ID. So we'll just get started. Okay, we'll sign into the Microsoft Entra ID now. So the first task is about adding a new user. So it looks like we will have to set up the MFA. So I will do that, then I will resume the video again. So the MFA is done and we are welcome to the welcome page of Microsoft Entra ID. So just get started now. So the first task, as I said, was adding a new user. So we will be doing that now. So for the task, we have to go under the Entra ID, we go into users. Then we go on under all users, then we will click add a new user here at the top, then create new user. The user principal name is going to be Chris G. Display name is going to be Chris Green. We will keep this as it is, the auto generate password stuff. So according to the lab, we will be copying this password. So I'm just going to quickly open the notepad here and save it here on the notepad. Obviously, saving the password in the notepad is not the best practice, but for this task, since we have a dummy user account, we can do this. And I will also get the user principal name as well, so we can log in if need be in the future. So click on review and create at the bottom here and create. So that's how simple it is to create a new user. And as you can see that there is 33 users here and Chris is nowhere to be seen, and because I think it's just a delay that's happening. So if I refresh it now, yeah, we have 34 users now and Chris Green is right here. So that's first task completed. So the second task is then we will have to log in as the newly created user as expected. So since we have already this session open in this tab here, I'm going to open a new private window. Then we will be logging in as Chris. So Entra ID. So since this is a auto-generated password, it will allow us to change the password now as expected. So we'll just create a test password. It's a really basic password. Let's see if it will allow us to keep this. Yeah. Okay. This is what I'm keeping the password as. Let's hope that it holds. I'm assuming that it's going to ask us for the MFA again. Yeah, I'll do the MFA, then I'll start the video again. So we're logged in as Chris Green now, and this is the welcome page for Microsoft Entra ID for him. And according to the lab, so we will go on under the Entra ID, we will go on to Enterprise Apps. We'll click on New Application. And it is asking us to have a look here, which says the create your own application is grayed out. We cannot click it. Okay, so the lab is telling us to click on settings like application proxy and user settings. I'm assuming this is the user settings it's talking about. Application proxy, I cannot see that. It just says application policies. So the lab is trying us to see that since the user was created, they didn't have any permissions applied to them, any administrative roles, and that's why we cannot see anything here, and that's why we cannot create any application and stuff. So we will be signing out from Chris's account, and that should be the end of task 2. Okay, so we will start exercise 2, task 1, which is we will be assigning a role to the user. So the lab is telling me to go to identity page, which I don't assume that we will be having here, mainly due to the fact that Microsoft keep updating their user interface. So it's asking me to go into users, which is under Entra ID now. Then we will go into all users. Then we will go into Chris Green. Then we will click on assign roles, which is just right here. Then we will do add assignment. Then we will give him the role application administrator. And then we will click on next. It doesn't mention anything about the scope, so I'm just going to leave it be as default as directory, and click on next here. And we will click on assign. Well, I'm not too sure if I want to leave it as eligible or as active, because it does not mention anything here. Okay, so it does not explain anything about eligible or active here, because I think the documentation has not been updated, but the Microsoft interface has been updated. So far as I know, eligible means that the account gets eligible for PIM, privilege identity management, and active means it's actively assigned to them. And so the lab says that we will be assigning a permanent role to this user. So I'm assuming that we will have to click on active, but let's just do both at the same time. So we will just keep on eligible for now, and we will assign him this role. And the task 2 is actually checking the application's permissions, which were not allowed before. So I'm going to try that and see if this eligible function does give him access or not, because this is the first time for me. So let's just do both at the same time. Okay, so in eligible assignment, the application administrator is showing up here. That's great. Let's just log back in as Chris and see if he has the access now. Also was this one here. Okay, let's try to do the same thing that we tried to do earlier. And now if we go into new registration, sorry, we go into enterprise applications, then we go into new application, and even now the create your own application is still grayed out. That means the rule was still not applied. So I'm assuming that making it eligible does not mean that the permissions is applied. It just means that the account becomes eligible for the permission to get applied. How it get applied, I am not too sure now, so we will be seeing that in the future. So let me just go back and let me just assign Chris Green an active role at the moment. So here it says eligible assignment this. I can either remove it or update it. So let's just click on update and see. So it's eligible now. I'm going to make it active and enter justification. So I'll just say needs to be done. You can enter anything I want, just this needs to be filled out. Okay, so we're just updating the role of Chris Green now, and let's see. So far in the active assignment it was not showing up. Now since we made it active, now it's showing up here, and I assume the eligible assignment is going to be empty. Yeah, as expected. That's great. Let's go back to Chris now and let's see if he has gotten the role or not. I assume that that's not going to happen because we are already signed in, so we might have to log out and log back in again for the changes to take place. But let's see. Okay, we didn't need to do that. Now we have create your own application, clickable, and that's great. So yeah, up until here is task 2, which is checking application permissions, and that's completed. We will be exploring this further according to the lab here, and now this makes an end for task 2 as exercise 2. Okay, let's start exercise 3, which is remove a role assignment, and the task 1 here is remove the application administrator role from Chris Green. So I'm assuming that this is going to be similar and the exact reverse method of how we applied it. So we go into all users, okay, so we are doing it the other way around according to the lab here. So instead of going to the user and finding the user and seeing the role, we will be going to the role itself. Then we'll be seeing how many users are assigned that role, and we will be removing Chris from there. So we will be clicking on roles and admins under the Microsoft Entra. Also make note for the future that Microsoft might change the UI again, so the roles and admins might not be here under Entra, might be under somewhere else. So if it's not here, you just have to go on here and search for roles and admins, and that should be it. So we will be going to all roles, then we will be clicking on application administrator, then we should see Chris Green here as expected. So we will be so according to the lab, it says there should be a checkbox here which is missing, so I assume that it has been updated. So the whole process is to remove the application, which has been made streamlined according to the Microsoft. So if I scroll here, we have an option of removing the assignment, so I'll just do that. Remove. Yes, we want to remove that. Okay, so it says the active duration is too short, minimum required is 5 minutes. So I'm assuming that this is a new thing for me that I've learned, that a role needs to be applied for a minimum of 5 minutes before it can be removed. Okay, that's good to know. So I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to restart when 5 minutes has happened. Okay, so after 5 minutes, I tried removing the role and it was removed successfully, as you can see here. And now Chris doesn't have any role assigned to it. So that's task 1 of exercise 3 completed. So exercise 4 is bulk import of the users, and the task 1 is bulk operation for creating with a .csv file. So we'll go back to the home page now. So the lab says that we have to open the identity tab, which is not here, so I'm assuming it's going to talk about the Entra ID. Then we will click on users, then all users, then select bulk operation right at the top here. Selecting bulk create will open a new tile. Okay. So this is going to download a CSV template. The CSV template has been saved. So I'll open the CSV with Excel. And this is what it looks like. So it has just given us a template of where to put what. So I'm assuming that this is where we put the display name, this is where we put the username, this is where we put the password, and block sign in, yes, no, pretty easy stuff. But for this lab purpose, we have already been provided a SC300 bulk user.csv file. And to access that, it is asking us to go here, click on Notepad, it's asking us to open the file, which is under all files / lab1 folder. Just need to find where that is. Okay, so this is the all files section, and I'll change that to all files. So I'm going to open that in the file explorer here so I can find the file path. So it says that there should be a lab1 folder here which is missing, so I'm assuming that that's going to take some time. Maybe I'll just browse other directories in the meanwhile. Yeah, so there's supposed to be, the file is supposed to be missing here. Okay, so since the file is missing, I'll just modify this file that I've downloaded, and I'll put some random username and password. So this is what the file name is supposed to be, but that is missing, so I'll just rename the file we downloaded to this one here. I will open this, and I'm going to do I think this is not editable. Anyway, I'll upload this file and see what happens. So let's suppose that we have the original file. Okay, so we click on upload your CSV file, click on this, the file we just created, upload it. So it says the CSV file you uploaded is not valid, please verify operation type and correct CSV file. Selected file has no rows to process, and that's understandable because the file did not allow us to enter anything, so I'm assuming that this is not going to work. But this is usually the process is if you want to create a bulk users, which is pretty easy. So I'll just complete this task. The next task is task 2 is bulk addition of users using PowerShell. Okay, so we will run as administrator PowerShell. Then we need to install the Microsoft.graph PowerShell module, which is going to be installed if I type this here. Okay, this is not typing, so I'll just have to copy it and paste it. Okay, it's typing here, but not in the PowerShell module. That should be fine. So this will be installing the Microsoft.graph module. Okay, so we will be clicking yes or Y for this, and that has been completed. We will copy the next command. That's completed as well. Okay, so we will authenticate ourselves with the same admin ID and password. So it is asking us if we want consent on behalf of your organization, and I'm not clicking that because the lab does not say here. The lab just says to accept the thing and cancel, close the browser. So I'm just going to accept that. We will be typing this command now. I think this is showing us all the users. As you can see, this is Chris Green here, the user that we created. So this command here says that to assign a common temporary password to all users, this is the command we usually type. Okay, so nothing happened. It doesn't say here what happened, so I'm assuming that this went through. Okay, so it's not going through, but I'm going to type it here. Okay, for the reference, get-mg user will show us the user, will fetch the user and show us on the screen like how it has shown us here, and new-mg user will allow us to create a user. Okay, we'll copy this, then we will paste this here. So it says replace this with the .on.microsoft.com lab domain, like something like this. And we will hit enter to create this. So this has created a new user. So if I enter get-mg-user, so this should technically show us the new user it created. So far nothing, so I'm assuming that this is just going to take some time. Let's go on here. Remember that we have 34 users, so if I refresh it, it should have 35 users now. Yeah, which is the case. And new PW user, that's great, it has been created. So that is the end of task 2 of exercise 4, and we will move on to exercise 5 now. So we'll go back to the home page. Under Entra ID we click on users, then all users, and task 1 is about removing a user, and the exercise name is remove a user from Microsoft Entra ID. So we will click on Chris Green, so we can select multiple users according to the lab here, and we can delete all of them at the same time, but for this lab purpose we will be only deleting Chris Green. So we'll click on delete, then OK. Okay, Chris Green has been deleted. We are again drop down back to 34 users. Chris Green is nowhere to be seen. That means it's completed. So that completes the task 1 of exercise 5. Task 2 is restore a deleted user. So I think this is going to restore Chris Green. If I go into Entra ID users, then in the user section, if I go into deleted users, I'm going to see Chris Green is here. That's great. And it says user are permanently deleted after 30 days. So 30 days, after 30 days they are going to be deleted permanently. So I'll just click on this, then I'll do restore user. Yes. So if I go into all users here, I can verify that Chris Green has been restored. And that's the end of task 2. We will start exercise 6 now, which is add a Windows 10 license to user account. And the task 1 in under this is find your unlicensed user in Azure Active Directory, which is going to be Entra ID here. I think the documentation is still referring to it as Azure Active Directory, which is not updated yet. So if I go on to Entra ID, which is this one here, then under Entra ID users, all users, then if I go into this person Raul, Razo, if I open it up, so the lab is telling us to check if Raul has a usage location set, but it does not mention where to check, so I'm going to just guess it. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to restart when I find where can I check that. So I searched pretty much everywhere and I couldn't find it, so I assume that the lab is not updated, unless I'm wrong, because if I go into monitoring, it says the user have not signed in, so the sign-in data has been uploaded, or maybe has changed or something. And even in properties, there is nothing mentioned here. There is mentioned, I'm sorry. So the account is enabled and the usage location is United States, right on time. So if I go into licenses, according to the lab here, it should show us that no license assignment found. And that's the end of task 1. The task 2 is adding a Windows license to Raul. So we will open a new tab, and as you can see here that adding or removing or reprocessing license assignment is only available from M365 Admin Center. So that has been moved to the M365 Admin Center now, so we will have to go there. So I'll just click on it, or if you don't have this link, you can just go onto the new tab and type admin.microsoft.com. That's going to take you to the same home page as the link. This has to straight us to the license tab, but if you're not here, you just go here, you go into billing, then you click on license. That's going to be the same page that we have landed on. So we have all the license available here, and Windows 10 license, this is what we need to apply to role. And if I remember it correctly, this is the total number of license we have, and this is the number of license we have applied. So this trial tenant has 20 license of enterprise mobility plus security E5, and all 20 of them has been applied and 0 is available. And Office 365 E3, 20 are available, only 1 has been applied, and 19 is currently available to use. So we will click on this license. We have a total of 15 licenses, 2 has been applied and 13 is available. So I will just click on add license, then I will search for role's name, and then we will click on assign license. And now the license has been assigned to role. That's great. It's showing up here as well. I'll just quickly go to the roles page in Microsoft Entra ID, the Entra ID page. I'll click on the licenses, then I'm on the license page. I'll just refresh it, and hopefully it should show up here as well. Yeah, so Windows 10 is showing up here. That's great. Okay, so this has been completed, the task 2. So lab 1 has been completed so far, and we will move on to lab 2 now. So lab 2, the first exercise is create a custom subdomain, and the task 1 is create a custom subdomain name. So I'll just go back to the home page here. So we'll go to a Microsoft Entra, we are already here. So we will go to domain names under Microsoft Entra ID. So Entra ID, we go down, domain names. This is the domain name that we are using. If I click on add custom domain name according to the lab here, so I'll do sales dot on Microsoft.com. So here it says managing Microsoft domain is restricted in Microsoft Entra ID. Visit Microsoft 365 Admin Center to perform this action. Okay, so let's go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center now. If I click on this, it should take me to the page. So I'll just cancel. We are in the same Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to go onto the tab that we opened. So in the settings under domains, we are here. So this is where I think we will be adding that. So add domain. Domain name is going to be sales.onmicrosoft.com. Then we will select use this domain. Okay, so the lab does not mention clearly of what we're supposed to do, but the example subdomain that they're talking about is probably the subdomain. So we will have to create a subdomain. So this is the domain, and the main domain that we have is this one here. And if we want to create a subdomain, it is going to be sales dot our main domain here. I think this is how it is, so I'm just going to go ahead with this. If this is wrong, then I might come back for it to correct this. So here's this domain. So I'll just click on continue because it says to continue. So for this lab purposes, the lab says that we will not be setting up any DNS. I assume that we are going to be doing that in the future, but as of now, click continue. So this is giving me this error. It's not allowing me to move further. So I'm just going to close this now, because that's where the lab ends. So I'm assuming that they are asking us to close. Yeah, so we can see here. And this was probably my mistake. So I'm just going to let's just let it be, then maybe see. Let's see. So we will move on to the exercise 2 now, which is changing the tenant name, tenant display name. And the task 1 under this is set the tenant name and technical contact. So under Microsoft Entra ID, which is going to be this one here, we will click on identity, which is missing, because in the past when it was referring to identities, it was referring to the Entra ID section. So I assume that has changed now. So I'm just going to follow this and let's see. So it's asking me to go into overview under identity, so I'm going to go into overview under Microsoft Entra ID. Then it says we need to go to properties, which is going to be this one here. And it says change the tenant properties for the name and technical contact. So name is going to be Contoso marketing, and technical contact is my global admin account, which I've logged in with. So I'm just going to copy that again, Then we will select save. Okay, so it says that we should see the immediate change upon completion of save. So just going to refresh it because I cannot see where the name has been changed. Okay, for the next task 2, we will be reviewing the country or the region and other values associated with your tenant. So for that, we will go on to the Microsoft Entra ID homepage. Then it is asking us to go into identity overview. I'm going to go into Entra ID overview. It says under tenant properties, and see the name has changed from Contoso to Contoso Marketing from the previous task. So here it says that the tenant country and the tenant properties, this cannot be changed. So for that reason, we have to be careful while where we are creating the tenant, because once created, we cannot change the tenant country or region or the data location. Okay, that's task 2 completed. The task 3 here says finding the tenant ID, which is pretty easy, I would say. If we go into Entra ID and overview, it is going to be right here. Then tenant properties, and this is the tenant ID. So Entra ID overview, then properties, tenant ID. That's task 2 completed. This is now task 3 completed. Then this is now exercise 3, setting your privacy information. And under that, task 1 is adding your privacy info on Microsoft Entra ID, including global privacy contact and privacy statement URL. So for that, we're going to do Entra ID overview, then properties, this is the privacy contact here. So it says this is your privacy info for your employees. So this is the global privacy contract that will be changing to the one which has lab provided us, which is this here. So I'm going to copy this again. So this privacy contact, there are some information in the lab which says that Alan D, this person Alan D Young, is a built-in user who has Azure Lab Tenant. In your Azure Lab Tenant, who works as an IT admin, we will use him as a privacy contact. So we are using him as a privacy contact. The person who is listed here in this tab is the person who Microsoft will contact if there is any data breach. And if there is no person listed here, the person is going to contact the global administrators. Microsoft is going to contact the global administrators. Then we will hit save. And that's saved. So we will move on to the task 2, which is check your privacy statement. So it's asking us to go back to the Azure home screen. So I'm going to go back to portal.azure.com. And then on the right hand side, upper right hand side, we will click on our name. Then we will click on view account. A new browser tab has been opened, and on the settings and privacy page, under overview, under my account on the left hand side, we will click on organization notice under privacy. So under privacy, we'll click on organization notice. This is the one here, Contoso marketing terms of use. So we will click on this view option here. That's going to open the privacy statement. This is the privacy statement, and we can just close this, and with that the task 2 has been completed. So we will be starting lab 3 now. So the lab 3 exercise 1 is create a security group and add a user into it. And the task 1 is check to see if Delia Dennis has access to Office 365. So I'm going to go back to Microsoft Entra ID homepage. And for this, I'll just close this one here, and we will open a new private window. I'm going to close the old private window. So we will go on to the office.com now. And we will sign in as Delia. I think we will have to set up the MFA again. Let's hope that's not the case. Okay, that's great. So here it says that this is your home page, but you don't have any apps because there is no license applied to your account. So that's what's going on here. It says if it's empty, it could be that your user license was recently assigned to you. Wait 10 minutes and refresh this page, and I'm going to assume that the license has not been applied. So no matter how long we wait, it's not going to do anything. So that's what it says until now. Up until now, in the task 2, we will be creating a security group in Microsoft Entra ID. So I'm just going to cancel this now. So in the Entra ID, we will click on identity, then groups. So since there's no identity, I'm going to click on Entra ID, then groups. Then we'll click on new group. Group type is going to be security, and the group name is going to be this one here, SG-SC300- O365. The group description is going to be, nothing has been mentioned, so I'll just move on. Membership type is going to be assigned. And in the owner, we will be assigning our own administrator account as the owner of this group. So admin, which is going to be the mod administrator here, then select. So in the members section, we will be only adding Delia Dennis. Create, and we will wait until the group is created, which has just been created, so that's great. I'll go back to the groups now and I'll see if the group has been created or not. If I go into all groups here, that is just going to show up somewhere around here. Yeah, that's the group we created, and if I open that up, I should be able to see under members, I should be able to see Delia Dennis here. Yeah, and under owners, we should have our admin account. Yeah. So that's the end of task 2. In task 3, we will add an office license to this group. So I assume that applying license is not going to be done here. Yeah, so we will have to go to M365 Admin Center to do that. So we need to apply Office 365 E3 license, which is going to be this one here. And and after we go into the license, we can go to groups, then we can assign license. Just need to search the same group that we created, SC300, then assign license. So we have assigned license to the group that we have created. If I refresh it, it's going to show up here. And the status is in progress, so I assume that's going to take about 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to pause the video until the status says completed. Then we will move on to task 4, which is going to be confirming the Office 365 license that we have just applied. So it took about 3-4 minutes, and now that license has been applied. We will move on to the task 4, which is going to be confirming the license. So I'll open a new private window. Okay, so it still says that the Microsoft 365 apps is empty, and it says wait 10 minutes. We have only waited for like 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to pause the video again and restart the video after 10 minutes, and let's see if anything changes. So I waited about 6 minutes or more, and the notification that we were getting that we don't have the license or something has been gone now. And this is what we are left with. So I think this is the office.com is talking about. If I go into the apps, I should be able to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Let's just try Word quickly. Yeah, that seems to be opening. So I assume that after you apply a license, the delay is about of like 10 minutes or so. So with that, the task 4 is completed, and we will move on to exercise 2. So I'll just cancel this now. And for the exercise 2 is create a Microsoft 365 group in Microsoft Entra ID, and the task 1 is create the group. So if I go back to this page here, Microsoft Entra ID, then groups, then new group. So here we can see the security groups that we created earlier, and the Microsoft 365 group that we are creating now has 2 different purposes. So security groups are used to give group member access to applications, resources, and assign license. And group members can be user, devices, service principals, and other groups. So nesting groups within groups is possible with the security group option, from my understanding. And the second option that we are creating now, which is Microsoft 365 groups, are used for collaboration, giving members access to shared mailbox, calendar, files, and SharePoint site, and so on. And the group members can only be users. So Microsoft 365 groups is mainly for collaboration, shared mailbox access, calendar, files, SharePoint, and so on. And for everything else, we use security groups. And within security and within the groups option, nesting groups within groups is only available for security group options and applying licenses as well. So that's great. We'll move on to Microsoft 365. The group name is going to be Northwest Sales. Okay, so this is creating a shared mailbox, as we can see. So Northwest Sales at our email address here. So group member is going to be assigned. It can be dynamic user. I think that's going to be explained in the future, so I'm not going to explain it now. And we will be assigning ourselves as the owner of the group. So we are the owner, and the members this time are going to be Alex and Bianca. So Alex here and Bianca. Both of them are the members. Then we will be creating that. Okay, that's created now. And we will move on to exercise 3, which is going to be creating a dynamic group with all users as members. Okay, so that came fast. So we will go on to all groups. We will click on new groups. Then we will be using the security group, and the group name is going to be SC300 My Dynamic Group. So membership type is going to be dynamic user. We will be assigning the owner role to ourselves and another dynamic query. So this is the main crux of this whole group. So far as I know, dynamic means changing. So a group that changes or keeps on changing is a dynamic group, from what I understand. And the dynamic query is supposed to be the rule from which the dynamic group gets its rule syntax. Let me just show it to you rather than explaining it. So we will be editing these rule syntax. So this user.object ID is case sensitive according to the lab here, and this is the dynamic query. So what it will do is, so I'm assuming that user.objectID, if it is not null, that means if the object ID is not empty, then everything else is going to be added here. I am not too sure. Let's see how this behaves so we can see its behavior. So we will save this and create. So the dynamic group has been created. I'll just quickly go to the dynamic group. It's not showing up here as of now. Okay, so it's not showing up. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to continue when the group shows up. Okay, so I waited quite a bit of time, but the group is still not showing up until I realized that the lab asked me to enter SC300, the name, and it just shows right up. I am not too sure why it's not showing up in all the group list. For example, here, I'm pretty sure I'm not. There is there. So when I'm scrolling, it's just moving the group so fast I can't see it. Okay, that's showing up here. My bad. And we can see that the users are 35. So that means that it's adding every single user. So if I go into users, I believe we have 35 users. Yeah, we have 35 users, and this group, because of the dynamic query that we have, it has added every single one in this group. So the dynamic query was that if the object ID is not null, not empty, then add everything, which is going to by default add every single one into this group. So that's one of the options. Yeah, it's right here. That's the end of task 2. We will do task 3 now. It has given us some queries, so we will be creating a dynamic group again. So yeah, security, then the name is going to be something like test1. Assigned owner is going to be the mod administrator. Member, we will not be adding any member because it's a dynamic group. So cancel this out. Then we will change this assign to dynamic user, and dynamic query is going to be this one here. So this is the same as before, which means if the user ID is, if the object ID is not empty, and we are also assigning and, which is going to make sure that both of these conditions are true. I assume this is correct. Let's see. So this is going to tell us that user.user object. So if a user object is not empty and user type is also equals to guest, that means this group is going to create a group where all the guest user are going to be added, if I understand this query correctly. And we will just say save, then create. I'm not going to do the next group, which just says that we are going to create the members with only members in it. So test is going to show up here, I believe. Okay, test one has been created. So far there is no users here, so I think the query is going to run and going to take some time before it can add users. So I'll leave this page open, then I'll move on to the next task. We will come back just to see if the user has been added or not. So this is the lab 4. The lab 4 is configure external collaboration settings, and the lab scenario is you must enable external collaboration settings for your organization for approved guest access. And the exercise 1 is going to be allowing guest users to be invited into your organization, and from the exercise 1, the task 1 is enable guest users to perform self-service sign up. I'll just get that started now. So we will go on to identity, then users, which is going to be Entra ID users, then user settings, then click on manage external users. Manage external user collaboration settings. I think this is what it's talking about. Okay, so here it says enable guest self-service sign up via user flow, and this is supposed to be turned on. And if we click save, that should be it according to the lab, the task 1. So if we want the guest users to perform self-service sign up, we just select yes and save. The task 2 is about configure external collaboration settings. So we will go on users. Now, so it's asking us to go to identities, which does not exist here. So we'll just have to find out where it's allowing us to go. It says go to identities, then go to external identities. So I'm going to just try to find external identities here, and here it is, external identities. And then all identity providers. So assuming that all identity providers means these are the identity providers that they can use to sign in or sign up as a guest user. So if you configure Google, that means they can use their own personal Google account to register themselves as a guest user within our organization. Okay, so here the lab is asking me to select yes to email one-time passcode, but as you can see that is already configured, so I'm just assuming again that Microsoft has changed this bit. So I'm just going to leave this be, and I'm going to move on to the next step, which is going to be checking the external collaboration settings, which is still in the same task but just its next process. So we will go into external identities, which we are already here. Then we will go to external collaboration settings. This is right here. And guest user access. We will be changing it to this function here. So I assume that this is going to be the most relaxed one, this is going to be the balanced approach, and that's going to be the most restrictive approach. They have access same as members. In the most relaxed one, they have limited access to properties and membership in the balanced one, and they have very restricted access in the last one. And under guest invite setting, we will be selecting this option here. So as again, I think this is going to be the most relaxed and this is going to be the most restrictive, and this two is going to be somewhere in between. So this is all about who can invite guests, and I believe having anyone in your organization can invite guests is a bad practice, or maybe depends on the organization, but I think that's should be not be the case. And it says member users and users assigned to specific domains can invite guest user with member permissions. I think this is a bit too relaxed as well, and only user assigned to specific roles can. Yeah, I think the option 3 it is going to be the best role, but according to the lab we will be selecting the second option here. Then it says under collaboration restrictions, we can either create a allow or deny list. So we cannot either create, allow and deny at the same time. We can only allow at the same time, or we can only deny at the same time. So again, relaxed, restrictive, then somewhere in between. Okay, so we will hit save, and with this task is now completed. And with that, lab 4 is also completed, and now we will move on to lab 5, which is adding guest users to the directory. This is going to be interesting. So we will go on to the Microsoft Entra ID page. Under identity, it means to say Entra ID, select users. So we will go on to all users, then select new user, then we will select invite external user. Okay, so we are inviting individual users, and group email addresses are not supported, the lab says. So we enter the email address, which is going to be something like test@test.com.au. Display name is going to be test user, then message array, and then let me just change that test to some random number so that it doesn't mistakenly send it to anyone. Then review invite. This is going to be what they see, invite. And that's pretty much it, and that task 1 of exercise 1 has been completed. We will move on to exercise 2 now. So the task 2 is inviting bulk users. And if I open this template here, okay, so here we need to add the email address, the redirected URL, invitation, true or false, and customize message. Okay, so we just need to fill this up. So here in this part we are going to enter the email address, and the redirection URL is going to be the same, I believe, to sign up. Then this one is going to be true or false based on if you want to invite the user or not, which I don't find the purpose, because why would anyone enter the details here then select false? You will have to find out more about that. And customize the invitation message. That can be customized based on the organization. So that's pretty simple, and I think if you fill it up, you can just do that here and submit. That's going to invite the users. Yeah, that's pretty much it with this task 1. The task 2 for this one is going to be inviting guest users with PowerShell. So I'll just open the PowerShell again. I'm going to clear this screen now. Okay, so it's now typing. Let me just open my notepad. So it was asking me to install the Microsoft.graph module, but we have already installed that in the previous lab, so we don't need to install that anymore. So it is already connected as well, so we don't need to do that as well. That's great. we will be using this command here. Okay, so this command that we just entered, this has set the value for the email and redirect the external user. So this is the command which is going to invite the user. So I'm assuming that if we have to bulk invite the user, we just keep adding usernames here, like we do comma, then we add another email address, then comma, another email address, or maybe just in the next line. I'm not too sure, and it does not mention here. So with that, this lab is also completed. So this is going to be lab 6 starting now. And the lab 6 is about add a federated identity provider. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. So in the last lab we saw that the Google was not a identity provider for this organization. So we will be enabling Google, it seems. Let's see. So we just go on to this page, which is console.developer.google.com. Okay, so we will have to sign in with the Google account. Just going to use my Google account here. So this is where we are, and according to the lab we are going to create a new project. So I'm just going to select create project. It seems the project's name is going to be So we are going to, in the notification tab, we are going to hit select project, which is already selected here apparently. Just going to close that. In the left menu, APIs and services, it says, which is already selected. Then we will click on OAuth consent screen. Yeah, which is just right there. So it says under user type, select external. Okay, it says under app information, enter the app name such as Microsoft Entra ID. So under user type, select external, then hit create. I think this is pretty old documentation because I cannot see that. I'm just trying to browse this and let's see if I can maybe get this one or not. It's asking for an app name, so I'm going to go with Microsoft Entra ID. So this is how I'm going to create my user support email address here. Hit next. Here we get the option of internal and external. So I think the external he was talking about, which is going to be this one here. So I will click external. Click next. So here it says that we should have an option of authorized domain where we can add a domain. I am not too sure, and this is the app domain that it's talking about, I think. Yeah, authorized domain here. Click add domain, then we will click Microsoft online.com. So it's asking me to enter this email address here, the mod administrator. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see if we have an option of any credentials here. So I'm just going to save for now. So here it says in the application type menu, select web application. So I'm assuming that this is going to be somewhere around here in these options. So here the lab says that on the left hand side menu I should see credentials, which I don't see that anywhere. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to do some searching, and I'm going to continue the video then. Okay, so it seems that whatever they mentioned here has been changed. So I'll just quickly go back so I'll show you. So under clients, under overview, I clicked on create OAuth client, and then I selected the application as web application. So it was asking me to create credentials, which is not there, but the next step of the create credentials is to create a web application type. So I'm assuming that this is the place where before the update the create credentials part was supposed to be here, but no, it's not here. So we can just continue on with the lab now. So here it says in the application types, select web application, which we already created. Give the application a suitable name like Microsoft Entra B2B. So let's just do Microsoft Entra B2B. Microsoft Entra B2B. Then under the authorize redirect URL, we need to add these URLs here. Okay, I'm not too sure what happened. This wasn't supposed to happen, I believe. So I'll just delete one of these and edit the one. was because of this one here. Let's see what the tenant ID is. So to see the tenant ID, we go to overview, then properties. That's the tenant ID here. Copy it, back. Okay. So I'm just going to add the next URL, which is going to be this one here. The tenant name is going to be do some marketing, I believe. Okay, then we will save this. Okay, so this is the client secret. I'm going to copy that. And we also need client ID. I'm not too sure where to get the client ID from. It's just right here. Okay. So according to the lab, we need to leave this at testing at the moment. So that completes task 1, and I'm going to go for the task 2, which is going to add a test user. So under OAuth consent screen, I think the changes have happened in the Google Cloud, so that's why it's not showing up. So I am going to just try to follow the steps, and it's asking us to click on the test user section on the page, and I think I just saw it somewhere. This is what it's talking about, create client. I'm going to pause the video again, and I'm going to continue the video when I find the relevant stuff. Okay, so this is the test user I found under the audience section. So when click on audience, if you go down, you will find the test user, and here according to the lab we will add a user. Which is going to be my email address. Okay, I'm not too sure why it's not allowing me, but I'll just quickly add the other. I'll just leave it be for now then. So with this, the task 2 of exercise 1 is completed. We will move on to exercise 2 now, which is configure Azure to work with external identity providers. So this was the interesting part that we were talking about before. So if we go into external identities under Microsoft Entra ID, then all identity providers, we saw that the Google was not one of those identity providers, so I assume that we are going to configure this now. So if I select configure on Google page, yeah, so it's going to ask the name as Google, the client ID is going to be something that I copied, which is going to be this one here. I think this was the client secret that I copied. I'll enter the client ID from here. Okay, client ID and client secret paste. We will save it now. Okay, so successfully added Google as a social identity provider. That is great. Let me just refresh this page. That's great. I didn't thought that it's going to be this easy. I was thinking that maybe I would have to leave it of how tough it was, but yeah, we got it done in the end. So with this, the task 1 is completed. The task 2 is invite your test user account. So we will be going back to Entra ID users, all users, new account. We are going to invite an external user. So it is telling me to use the same email address that we used earlier. So I'm going to use my email address. Then message is going to be some unique message, so I know that this is what I've sent to myself. And invite. And with the invitation being sent, the task 2 is completed. In the task 3, we will be accepting the invitation and logging in now. So I'll just open my Gmail in one of those private windows. So I logged into my Google account and I can see that this is the custom message that we sent and we have received it, and it says we have to follow the link, so we will accept the invitation and let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to open the link in the new page. Okay, so this is where the Google is using my identity. My Google identity to verify me. And this is showing me something that you see, it is going to receive my profile data, it is going to log my activity and use my profile data and activity. I'm just going to accept it now. So here the lab says that if you get an access error 500, wait about 30 seconds and refresh the page. I'm going to troubleshoot this further. I'm going to pause this video now and I'm going to continue when the troubleshooting happens, and I'll let you know what I did for troubleshooting. So this is like just 20 seconds after when I paused the video, and I did no troubleshooting at all. I just went to my Google account, just click on this invitation again, and it took me directly to the My Apps page. So the error we see was just a timing out error, and this solved the issue. So with this, with login, our task 3 is now completed, and we will now move on to task 4, which is log into Microsoft 365 using your Google account. So we will log into this one here. Then we will click sign in options, then sign into an organization, and so the lab tenant domain name, I have to enter that here. believe, which is going to be this one here. Maybe I can just go into the Google's web application and see what I have entered there. This is what I entered, I believe. Yeah, so the lab tenant domain name is not what I entered here, and I believe this is the wrong lab tenant domain that I've entered here. The correct one is going to be this one, primary domain. And this has logged me in, so that's great. And typically it would have asked me to enter my Gmail address and password, but since I've already logged in into the private window as myself, it just logged me in directly. So with that, task 4 is completed, and this lab is also completed. Now we will move on to the next lab. The next lab here says that it is optional. So this lab 7 is about hybrid identity, adding a hybrid identity with Microsoft Entra ID Connect. And this lab is optional because we will need to have a Azure pass to be able to create that. And that gave me GitHub link. This is the GitHub, and I'm assuming that with this GitHub we can deploy the hybrid identity with Microsoft Connect. And since that's going to take long and I don't have an active Azure account with me, I plan to do this. In fact, I've already done this before in the past, but it was not successful. That I created a Microsoft server on my virtual machine, on my VirtualBox, and I install Microsoft Windows Server in them, 2 of them, and I created that as an Active Directory forest. Then I try to onboard it to Microsoft Entra ID, but for various reasons I was not able to do it. So I plan to do this lab 7, but not today. I'm going to be doing this task now, and perhaps in the future I will create another video of uploading the Microsoft, creating the hybrid tenant. So we will move on to lab 8 now then. So this is the lab 8. Here it says enable multi-factor authentication, and the exercise 1 in here is review and enable multi-factor authentication in Azure, and the task 1 is going to be review Azure multi-factor authentication options. So we will go on to Entra ID and overview. Then we will search for multi-factor authentications under the Entra ID. So this is the getting started page. Under configure, we will be selecting additional cloud-based multi-factor authentication settings. We will click on this. So this is where we can create the multi-factor authentication, and we can also see the status as well. We can enable for everyone, or we can disable for everyone, or we can enforce the multi-factor authentication as well. So if I want to enable it for Gerhard Muller, I'll just click on enable MFA. And I'll just enable it for them. So we enabled it for Gerhard Muller, and we can see that it's enabled here. That's great. And we can enforce MFA. This looks interesting. So we will be enforcing on Gerhard. That's great. So that's task 1 created. Task 2 is setting up conditional access rule for multi-factor authentication for Delia Dennis. So I assume that we'll be going into the conditional access. And we will be create new policy. The policy name is going to be MFA for Delia. We will select click Delia, yes. And at the target resource, we will select no target resource selected. Click on it. We will select all resources. So we will not be selecting all resources, we will be selecting select resources. Then in the select thing, we will click on none, and this page is going to open up. And from here we will be selecting Office 365. So if you remember that in the previous labs we gave Delia Dennis a license to Office 365. So this is where we will be configuring them now. So select yes. So we will be selecting the condition section now. So it says review the condition section. Okay, we are reviewing it, and choose yes for the configure slider. I don't think that's an option here. Select any network or location. So network locations are here. Click on this and I'll set. Oh, this is what it's talking about iSIMs. Configure slider to yes. Okay. Then any network or location. Okay, that's great. So it forgot to mention that we need to go into the net locations, then any network location. Then we will go into access control. Under grant, we will click on zero control selected. Then we will will select require multi-factor authentication. Okay, so the lab is asking me to click on require all the selected controls. It says, so I'm assuming that this is talking about that. So I'm just going to enable that. Maybe it's not talking about that at all. Okay, let's see. I have just enabled Microsoft multi-factor authentication here. Then I'm going to select. Then enable the policy to on. Then hit create. So multi-factor is now enabled for Delia. So we will be logging in as Delia now, and we will be checking if the multi-factor authentication has been enabled or not. So let's just open a private window. Okay, so that seems good. It's asking us to create an MFA. Yeah, so it's asking us to create an MFA. That seems the policy has been applied. So that brings us to the end of exercise 1. Let's start with exercise 2 right away. Exercise 2 is configure MFA to be required for the login. So we will go back to users under Entra ID on the Microsoft Entra ID homepage, under all users. So at the top of the page we have per user MFA here. We are going to click on that. A new browser tab opened which took us to the same page of multi-factor authentication. So we are going to click Eteal Vans this time and enable MFA. Okay, that's great. That is the end of task 1. The task 2 is, it says try logging in as Eteal, and let's see. Yeah, of course, there's a typo here. Okay, so that seems good. It is also asking us to create MFA, so that means the MFA that we enable for her is working as well. Okay, so this is lab 9. So the lab 9 is about configure and deploy self-service password reset. And exercise 1 is about create a group with SSPR, self-service password reset, enabled and add users to it. And the task 1 is create a group to assign SSPR to. So I assume that we will have to go to groups, then all groups, then create new group. Group type is going to be security, and the group name is going to be SSPR testers. Group description is going to be testers of SSPR rollout. Membership is going to be assigned, and member is going to be Alex, Alan, and Bianca. And then select, then create. Okay, so that's task 1 completed, which was pretty easy. The next task 2 is going to be enabling the SSPR self-service password reset for this test group that we just created. So I'll just refresh, and the name of the group was SSPR testers. So under protection, okay, so not something from here, but something directly from here. So we will have to go to protection under identity, which is again is going to be Entra ID. Or unless it is moved somewhere else. I'm going to find the page, and I'm going to continue the video again. Okay, so the protection tab has also been merged under Microsoft Entra ID. I should have guessed that, but here we are. So the SSPR is under password reset, which is under Microsoft Entra ID. So password reset, then here we will continue from here then. So on the password reset page, we will have to select properties, which is just right here under the manage section. I think this was already open. So under select group, we will click on this here. We will click on SSPR testers, select then save. So on the password reset screen, it says look under manage, select and review. Okay, so since we save SSPR, if we go under manage, if we see authentication methods, we can select how many methods that is required. So we can either do two, we can either do one. So let's do two, save, and okay, let's just save it for now. Then under registrations, we can select the user to require to register when signing in. Then under notifications, we can select if we want the user to reset the password, and admins as well. And under customization, we can select, we can either enter a link to the help desk or the number to the help desk in case they have trouble setting up or resetting their password. So with this, the task 2 is completed, and it is really important, according to the lab here, that we need to have mobile phone. So let me just save that again. It's 2. And it is really important to select mobile phone or SMS as one of the authentication methods. So we will be doing the task 3 now, which will require us to open a private window. Then we will go on to this link. Then we will log in as Alan D. So according to the lab here, this step is required to use and register multi-factor authentication and SSPR. And I remember that I was not getting this or this option before while setting up the MFA. So let's just explore these options and let's see what they do. So that's great. It is asking us if you want to do a multi-factor authentication, phone, email, or a hardware token. Which is really helpful. And that brings us to the end of task 3. Task 4 is about testing the SSPR. So we'll just do portal.azure.com, enter, go there, and so it's still logged in as user. I don't need that, so I'm going to cancel the in private window. Then open it again. So that so the reason for that is because I can clear the cache credentials that are stored there, and I can just log back in again. And this time, instead of entering the password, I'll just click on forget my password. Since we have enabled the SSPR, it should allow us to go back to this page, which is just asking me to enter my email or username, then this CAPTCHA here, okay, so we can see that Alan D has not set up a password reset. However, I think they have, no, it was not Alan D, it was Chris G who has set up a MFA. So instead of trying Alan D, let's try Chris G. So since I have registered Chris G's multi-factor authentication in my phone, okay, so it says you cannot reset your own password because password reset isn't turned on for your account. Okay, so let's just do that then. Let's go and enable Chris G's self-service password reset. Maybe enabling just his password reset. Instead of doing that, I can just add him to the group where the SSPR is already enabled. That will cut down a lot of efforts. So I'll just go into the member section, then I'll add Chris G here. Okay, so security has been created, added to the group, and now he should also have access to SSPR. So I'm going to go back one step, then because I've just added him to this group, I'm just going to wait 2 or 3 minutes, then I'm going to resume the video, because if I do it now it might not work. So we'll just wait 2 or 3 minutes just to be on the safe side. So it's been 3-4 minutes. Let's try this now. So technically it should allow us now to do that. We cannot reset your own password because you haven't registered for password reset. Okay, so I'm going to try adding these people directly to the password reset stuff here. So I'm just troubleshooting why is it showing me that, and I'm going to resume the video with possible answers. So I went on to Microsoft forums and I searched the same issue, and the solution that is given here is once you enable the SSPR, you have to log in one time into your computer, and when you do that, the system will ask you to set up Microsoft Authenticator and the other SSPR option. Once you set it up, only then you can click on the forget password. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to click on registering the multi-factor authentication, and let us see that if it will allow us to create a SSPR and register ourselves to it. Okay, so we have logged into the Microsoft Azure now. I'm going to cancel this private window, reopen a private window again, and I'm going to log in again, and this time I'm going to do the forget password for Alan. Yeah, so that was the issue. So if I enter the code displayed on my Authenticator app, it should allow me to reset my password. Okay, that's great. So from this we learned that SSPR will not work straight away, and we will have to log in first and register for whatever options we have, be it a MFA, Authenticator app, or a text message on a mobile number or email or whatever. So yeah, that brings us to the end of task 4, which is testing SSPR. So here the task 5, it says what happens if you try a user which is not registered to SSPR. What does it happen? I think we have already seen that before, that it will just tell us, it will not give us the option of forget password in the first place. or it does give us the forget password option. But if I do forget password, it will say what it was showing to us before that you haven't registered for MFA, contact your administrator, something like that. Yeah, isn't turned on for your account. Okay, with that, lab 9 is completed. So with this, lab 9 is completed as said, and I've just checked and it seems that we have around close to 28 labs. So I'm going to end this video now, and in the next video I'm going to start from lab 12. Lab 10 and 11 is missing from here, and after lab 9 it's just lab 11. So I'm going to start from lab 11 in the next video.